Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Interesting Talks with Footprints. I hope your glass is half full rather than half empty. And as we know, we can always top it back up no matter where we are in life. Now, today's talk is about self-harm. We're going to talk about the invisible side of self-harm. It's a lot more popular than what you may think. And as I'm talking, this may resonate with you or somebody that you know. I'm going to talk about how it works or what tactics people use to self-harm silently, and then I'll try to give some sort of tips on solutions. Now, we can use self-harm in many ways to get by past trauma or what's going on at the moment or overwhelm. I'm going to look at the invisible ways that we can harm ourselves and look at better coping skills that we can adapt to try to overcome the negative ones that we might be using at this present time. So one of them is to not eat, not feeding ourselves. Can you believe it? People do it. They don't feed themselves. They starve themselves intentionally and sometimes a bit subconsciously, as in making themselves so busy that they don't have time to eat. Yet when you don't eat food, obviously we know, looking at it in the calm light of day, you're going to be running your body down. Your body needs fuel to function. But when you're not eating, because maybe you're stressed, you're overwhelmed about something, you've got something going on, you just want to be numb, and you make yourself busy or purposely, consciously don't eat, you're doing a real damage to your body. And our bodies eventually start giving us problems back. One of the biggest problems in modern day and age are eating disorders. Anorexia, bulimia, people, you know what that means, people are eating food and then being sick to bring it back up again. And of course, we're living in a society where to look slim is very important. So people get caught up in that as well. So eating disorders are major, major, major problems in the day and age that we're living at the moment. And it can also, when you don't eat properly, it weakens your heart, which can also lead to a heart attack. So a tip, way to deal with that is to set daily reminders on your phone when you need to eat, and make sure you eat and start to build up that habit of eating on a regular basis enough food. And when you don't eat and you go through these periods of not eating, what will happen is you'll binge on high carbohydrate foods, sugary foods, foods that are just not good for you, for your body to process. So try to bear that in mind. If that's you, or you know somebody doing that, or you've got teenagers around you and you notice that they don't eat, they give you all kind of excuses, challenge them on it. And if it's you, challenge yourself. Not taking breaks and overworking ourselves. This happens for lots of reasons. Some people are stuck in positions that they have to work hard and have to spend a lot of time in their jobs. But it's also a form of self-harm. People also do it to avoid looking at their lives. With my clients, I tend to let them, or can let them, sometimes look at a video by Nadia Hussein, the Bake Off champion. She won Bake Off. She suffers a lot from anxiety, and she allowed herself to be filmed on BBC. It's on BBC iPlayer for those that want to look for it. And one of the things what she says is that she was baking and cooking from like 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night, just so she didn't have to deal with her anxiety, just so she didn't have to face the reality of what she was going through. So obviously other people do that. But the World Health Organization have got some interesting information for people that work all the hours that God sends. And it's this, that people who work 55 hours a week are 33% more likely to suffer a stroke and 13% more likely to suffer a heart attack. There are many reasons that people do this, but it's a form of self-harm. So slow down if this is you. Take heed to these words. 3, making plans with other people can also help you to stop what you're doing. Because when you commit to other people, let's say you're going to say, I don't know, we're going to go to the gym together, we're going to go to a club together, we're going to have a game of cards, we're going to go to the races, we're going to do something together. You're committed to a group scenario. So if I just say to myself, for example, oh, I'm just going to go for a walk, well, You know, I could easily negotiate that and say I'm not going to go for a walk. But if I tell 3 or 4 of my friends that we're going for a walk together, we're going to go hiking, whatever it might be, whatever activity, I am more likely to show up because I've committed myself to a group activity. And obviously, I don't want to let the group down. Guilting ourselves. Number 3, guilting ourselves. This is also something that people do, and you wouldn't really think much about it as a self-harm subject or theory in self-harm, but trust me, it is. Now, guilting ourselves, we can feel guilty when it's not justified. Okay, when it's justified, all well and good, but when it's not justified, it's not justified. And when it's not justified, we could be not liking somebody and feel guilty about it. If you don't like somebody, you don't like somebody. If somebody asks you to do something, you can't do it because it's going to mess up the whole of your day or the whole of your week. Again, some of us feel guilty about saying no. And this guilt can make us feel very, very uncomfortable, and it can mess with our lives. And persistent guilt is a significant predictor in anxiety disorders. So if you're feeling guilty a lot in your life, you can start having anxiety disorders. Can you imagine that? Well, there you go. Another form of self-harm. How do you get out of it? By checking the facts. Did I do something wrong? Is there any evidence of me acting in a harmful or hurtful way to somebody else? And if there is, then do something about it. But if there isn't, then you need to let it go and look for what emotion might be going on that's not there, that you're not talking about. Probably look on the emotional wheel. If you've not got the emotional wheel, message me, or just go online and look for the counselor's emotional wheel. There's 74 emotions on there. You'll find out what your feeling really is. It might not be that you're feeling guilty about something. It might be from something else. So bear that in mind. Number 4, staying in unhealthy relationships. Now, well, I've spoken about these things before, but it's also a form of self-harm, silent self-harm that people just don't necessarily see. Now, that can play up on your stress levels, anxiety, depression, constant conflict and manipulation can take its toll on our mental health. Maybe this is, for some people, it's their norm. This is what they saw in their childhood. This is the relationships they might have seen around their parents. They might have always thought that it's okay for somebody to really shout and scream at you, maybe be physically aggressive towards you, and then they buy you flowers, or they buy you a diamond ring, or they buy you a car, and it's okay. Well, you know what? It's not okay. So what you need to do is try your best to get out of that relationship. And ways to consider to doing that would be to talk to friends about it, talk to family about it, see somebody like myself, a therapist, to help you plan to slowly move away from a very, very bad or a difficult, challenging, unhealthy relationship. These, again, it leads to ill health. Ill health. I remember a tutor of mine coming in saying to me that many years ago, some of you that watch this channel may have heard this before, but others haven't, so I'm going to say it. She came in and she said to a classroom of 16 of us, I've got something serious to tell you guys. I've had breast cancer. I've had a double mastectomy. I was in an abusive relationship with my ex-husband for far too long. I stuck it out for far too long. I developed breast cancer and I've had a double mastectomy. Back then, it was a shock to me. But now we realise that stressful situations can lead to ill health. So, you know, if you're in a stressful relationship or any seriously stressful situation, do know it can affect your immune system and you could be heading towards something very difficult to deal with. Number 5, isolation. Now, we might draw away from others when we're feeling a bit down, or we're going through a difficult situation, but it leads to depression, it leads to anxiety. Humans are social animals. We are supposed to be around other people. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of research that people benefit from being around other people. It helps with a healthy body mass index, can you believe it? Helps control blood sugars, improves cancer survival. The list goes on. Tips: reach out to people online, people in person, text friends, text family. Just smile with somebody that you don't even know in a safe environment, like let's say on the street or in a shopping centre. With a stranger, you smile with a stranger. Start small, especially if you've been isolating for a long time. Start small and then build up till you're at a level whereby you're more comfortable being around people. We're social beings. That's how we've got as far as we have. A human being couldn't have survived 10,000 years ago trying to go and hunt a buffalo by himself. The buffalo would have run all over him, let's face it. Now, COVID has definitely also affected this situation. Because of COVID, people have become more isolated. People have got more used to being by themselves. And of course, that leads to social isolation, which leads to can lead to depression, anxiety, and all of the above what I've spoken about. So the talk is more or less to an end, but I'd like you to seriously think about what I've said. There is such things as self-harm that takes place silently, and some of us may be participating in it, and others may know other people that are. Now you've seen this video, this talk is now coming to your awareness. So it's either an option to take action or stay in that same lane that's not necessarily the best lane for you to be in because of the consequences. They don't necessarily happen overnight, but over a period of time they build up and they can hit you. If you've got any comments to make on this video, which I hope that people will, and things that happen to you in your life that you're quite prepared to share with other people to let you know how self-harm works, how it impacts on people, and ways to solve it, please do share. If not, leave comments, share with people that might find this talk useful. To 2 weeks' time, do take care of yourself, do your best to stay positive, and pay attention to what's happening in your life. Take care. Bye for now.